This is day 5 of the interview. All right, Anthony. So, how was your day at school today? It was okay. It wasn't too bad. All right. So, yeah, just tell me about your day. All right. So, I earned the check mark on my point sheet in social studies, and I had a great day in social studies. And also, when I put my stuff when I found a place to put my stuff, but I made sure that I wasn't anywhere on the heater. Well, I mean, you could put it on there, but it gotta be like near the window or something. But it can't be sitting on the heater, because if it's sitting anywhere on the heater, it might cause a fire or something. Something about that. Yeah, but the social studies teacher's rules are your stuff. It could be on there, but it can't be anywhere on the fan. But it could be on there, but you just gotta push it back some so it's not on the fan. Yeah, if it is on the fan, then he'll make you push it back, or he'll push it back, because it can't be anywhere on the fan. Yeah. Well, I had a great day in social studies, and I got my check. On my point sheet. All right. So, in math, I got a check mark on my point sheet, and I had to do that test again. I'm sorry. I just can't remember what it's called. But today I had a lot of work to do for the testing. Yeah, that test was fun though, but I try to make it fun. I have good thoughts about it. Yeah, but I got a check, and I didn't need any reminders at all. Yeah. Yeah, I had a great day in math, and I did that survey test thing. I can't even remember what it's called. Yeah, so I got a check on my point sheet for STEM. And yeah, I don't think I needed any reminders in STEM. Let me think. Yeah, I don't think I did. I had a great day in STEM. And I was an active listener, and I did fidget a little. I did touch something, and then my teacher, Miss Carey, said, "Anthony, do not touch that." And then she said, "Anthony, if you get caught touching things again, otherwise you'll have to come sit down." And then I said, "I'll come have to sit down." And then she said, "Yeah, or if I don't make you sit down, then I'm gonna send you to TOR for touching things." And I said, "Oh no, Miss Carey, but I haven't even been to TOR this school year." And then Miss Carey said, "Oh, well, you might go to TOR this school year if you touch something that's not yours." Well, what I did touch, I was about to touch a project. But next time, I'm going to try not to touch things, because the last time I touched something that belonged to the teacher, Miss Carey made me sit down. And I lost my walk break privilege. So I'm going to remember not to touch things, because I wouldn't like it if a teacher came in my room, because I wouldn't like it if a teacher or a staff member came in my room and started touching my belongings. Yeah, because I remember my teacher, Mr. Fortuna, said, "Anthony, how would you like it if I came in your house and put my coat on top of your counter?" Yeah, but that's probably a whole nother topic, though, about if a teacher comes in your house or something. But yeah. But other than that, my day in STEM was good. But that was probably a reminder for touching things. Yeah, that might have been a reminder. Now, English class, I probably needed a reminder because when I was in English class, we had to do some worksheets that had reading and it had questions for you to answer. And it had a story that you have to read. And then Mr. Fortuna said to me, Anthony, we're on the questions. And then I asked Mr. Fortuna, I said, Mr. F, or was that a reminder? And then he just repeated himself and said, Anthony, we're on the questions. Well, yeah, I asked Mr. F, was that a reminder? But instead of answering my question, he just said again, Anthony, we're on the questions. Well, I think he didn't answer my question, and I think he repeated himself because he probably wants me to follow directions without questions, which means he probably wanted me to just say, okay, I'll do that. I'll go on the questions. But maybe sometimes I should just follow directions without questions. Yeah, yeah, that might have been a reminder. But I asked this was a reminder, but I guess that my teacher, Mr. Fortuna, didn't want me to ask any questions. I guess she just wanted me to follow directions without questions. That's probably why he repeated himself and said, Anthony, we're on the questions. Yeah, but yeah, sometimes I should just follow directions without asking questions. Sometimes I just gotta say, okay, I'll do that, or I could just give a thumbs up. Yeah, maybe when Mr. F said, Anthony, we're on the questions, maybe I could have gave him a thumbs up to let him know I'm gonna go answer the questions on the worksheet. Yeah, sometimes when it's time for me to follow a direction or when I have a job to do, sometimes I just gotta say, okay, I'll do that, or I could give up a thumbs up to let the teachers know I'm gonna do what I need to do and what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. Other than the reminder, probably, my day was good in social study, English class. Now, MTSS, I had to browse a website called Freckle for 7 minutes. We didn't do 10, we did 7. And then when my Freckle time was over, I asked my teacher, Mr. F, could we go to the gym? But he said we'd go to the gym on Wednesdays and Fridays, and I said okay. But sometimes we get to go to the gym. Yeah, but if you misbehave, then you don't. Yeah, good thing I didn't misbehave at all, because if I misbehave in another class, then I might not have earned cash out. But good thing I didn't misbehave, so I earned cash out and I earned free time. Yeah, my day was good, and I don't believe that I misbehaved today. And my goal is to try not to misbehave in school or anywhere. My goal is to try not to misbehave, because I don't think that good things happen when people misbehave. So I'm going to try my best not to misbehave in school or at home. Yeah. Yeah. You really shouldn't misbehave. Yeah, Cesar, I'm not going to misbehave. All right, guys. My day was good in school. This is day 5 of the interview of me being this is day 5 of me this is the day 5 of me being interviewed by my imaginary friend named Cesar. All right, before we end the video, I would like to ask you something, Anthony. All right, Anthony. So, say if it was your math class time and your job and you had a job to do, and if your job was to read for 10 minutes. Now, say if you were trying to read, but say if a teacher interrupts you from reading to ask you questions, or say if a teacher keeps on if a teacher repeatedly interrupts you from reading to ask you questions. Should you say, "Oh my gosh"? No. All right, well, what do you think you should say? All right, so if I was reading, and if I had a job to do, and if my job was to read for 10 minutes, and if I was reading, and if a teacher keeps on interrupting me from reading to ask me questions, then I'm going to be like, excuse me, you're interrupting me from reading. I'll answer your questions when I'm done reading. Or you could just say, I'm busy right now. I'll be with you in a minute. Yeah, maybe you could say that. Maybe I could say that if a teacher interrupts me from reading to ask me questions. Or if a teacher repeatedly interrupts me from reading to ask me questions. If it was time for me to read in school. Yeah. All right. Good answer. All right, guys. My day was good in school. And me and my imaginary friend Cesar had a conversation about what I should do if a teacher interrupts me from reading to ask me a question. If it was time for me to do my reading enrichment time at school. Yeah, if a teacher interrupts me from reading to ask me questions, if it was time for me to read, I could just say, excuse me, you're interrupting me from reading. I would like to continue reading. I'll answer your questions later. Or you could just say, I'm busy right now. I'll be with you in a minute. Yeah, those are some things you could say if a teacher interrupts you from reading to ask you questions when it's your reading enrichment time at school. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.